Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Anthony, and today we're taking a look at Final Stardust Cosmic Nexus, a single-player digital dueling card game by NourSaiFR. Without any further ado, it's time to duel. Yes, you heard me correctly. When I say that it's a dueling card game, I mean it's clearly inspired by CCGs. And in-game, it is treated as a CCG. It takes noticeable inspiration from Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and Hearthstone. However, the game is completely contained as a single-player experience. There is no multiplayer, you can only play against the AI. Despite this, it is still a CCG in that you'll need to pick a starter deck, buy booster packs, and use new cards to build a more powerful deck. Deck construction is very simple. You must have a deck of exactly 20 cards, and can have up to 3 copies of each card within your deck. You'll want to consider evolution chains, but that will make a bit more sense once you have an idea of how gameplay works. To start the game, each player's deck is shuffled and they draw 5 cards. You'll each have 6,000 Magi points, or MG for short, and your main goal is to knock your opponents to 0 before they can do the same to you. However, games last 16 turns at most. If the turn counter hits 0, you'll have a Supernova, which is effectively just a series of tiebreaker rules, starting with being the player with the higher MG remaining. A random player is chosen to go first. The first player begins the game with 1 reserved space counter, and the second player begins with 2. Space counters are your currency in the game. They're used to play cards. On your first turn, you get 1 space counter, on your second you get 2, and so forth until your 6th turn, where you'll cap out at 6 SC per turn. Cards cost anywhere from 1 to 6 SC to play. If you have any FC left over at the end of your turn, you'll store up to 4 it as reserve space counters, or RSC. This works identically to normal SC, but some special effects target one or the other. Whenever you spend SC, you'll spend regular SC before RSC. When you play a card, you choose one of 3 lanes to play it on. Each card represents creatures known as Plano. At the top of the card, you have the level, which is used in evolution chains, and the name. Below that, you have the Plano's attack power, known as element points or EP, as well as their health points, and then the SC cost is in the middle of those. Every Plano has an effect that activates when played, and an overdrive ability which will activate if an overdrive symbol is present on the space you play it on. When you play a card, typically it'll be timed out for 1 turn. Normally, at the end of your turn, all your active Plano will attack the Plano opposite of them. Or, if there's no rival Plano in the opposing space, then they'll attack your opponent directly to damage their MG. However, if a Plano is timed out, either from just being played or from an effect, then it won't be able to attack until the timeout hits 0. If you play a Plano to a lane that's already occupied, you can activate its effect even though the Plano itself won't appear on the field. Many Plano are also capable of evolving. Unlike the Pokemon TCG, you can play a high-level Plano straight from your hand if you so wish. However, if you evolve into it, it won't be timed out and can attack immediately. However, this isn't required, and sometimes it is a good idea to play a higher level Plano without its lower level counterparts. For example, I played Dark Awakened Hoshiru without having Hoshiru in my deck at all, and this thing was an absolute terror every time it hit the field. The standard effect is amazing, and even if it doesn't trigger its overdrive, it's still a pretty decent beat stick. For the most part, evolution is pretty straightforward. However, there are 2 things to note. Firstly, each Plano has a dark version, and as far as evolution is concerned, you can evolve a normal Plano into the dark version of the next form, or vice versa. The other thing that makes things interesting are fusion Planos. Fusion Planos have no effects if they're played without evolving, but have 2 different Plano they can evolve from and have unique, typically very powerful effects depending on which one they evolve from. You can still play them as a beat stick without an effect, but honestly, Fusion Plano just aren't worth it unless evolved. But those effects can definitely make for some interesting plays. It should also be noted that if playing on difficulty 3 or higher, you'll also have to deal with Mazai. During the first few turns of the game, these will spawn into a single lane and provide an effect to that specific lane. These are chosen randomly from 20 of them, each with its own effect. Any Mazai can show up in a match, but you can't have the same Mazai in multiple lanes. On a meta level, the game has 21 different opponents, known as Elementalists, each with 5 levels of difficulty. To unlock an Elementalist, you need only beat the previous Elementalist once, but to unlock higher difficulties, you must defeat that specific Elementalist in a best of 3 match. The single Elementalist decks will always be similar to one another, but as they go up in level, they'll use more powerful versions of it with stronger cards. For each game you play, you'll earn gold and Stardust. Gold is used to buy new packs, while Stardust can be used to craft individual cards. You still get prizes for losing, but you get much more for winning. Each time you level up, you'll get a bonus boost of both Gold, and Stardust, and you'll also get to choose a dark variant of a Plano. Early on, this is your main way of getting dark Plano, but once you get to the endgame, you gain them by beating the max level of an Elementalist in a 2 of 3 match. Effectively, this reward replaces unlocking a higher level. Furthermore, whenever you purchase cards from booster packs, every card has a small chance of being replaced by its dark variant. As for crafting cards, you can craft any card except dark variants by paying a Stardust cost. The rarer the card, the higher the cost. There are also a handful of Celestial Planos which can only be obtained by crafting. Presentation-wise, the game clearly wears its inspirations on its sleeves. The Elementalists are heavily inspired by Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially the characters of GX and 5Ds. Plano, on the other hand, seem to take a fair bit of inspiration from Pokemon. The Mazai, as well as the Elemental Lighthouses, are clearly inspired by Golden Sun, most notably the Gene. There's no real story to speak of. Each individual Elementalist might have a bit of development, but there's nothing that really connects things as a coherent whole. The designer's self-insert character outright says he hates writing. All in all, the designs are pretty good, though the Elementalists are pretty goofy looking at times, but then again, it wouldn't be a proper Yu-Gi-Oh! Homage if they weren't. All in all, Final Stardust is a mixed bag, but I do feel there's more good than bad here. The core game is fun, and there's a nice variety of decks you can build with 100 unique cards, each of which have their dark variant for added variety. Progression is satisfying, with the familiar format of starting with a weak deck and building into combos that suit your playstyle being as enjoyable as ever. That being said, it's certainly not without its flaws. Firstly, the level 1 Elementalist should have been dropped completely. Their decks always consist of a single weak Plano which they just spam endlessly, and it makes the early game feel like a needless slog. You can absolutely handle the level 2 Elementalists with the starter decks anyways. But once you do reach those level 2 Elementalists, the game does improve significantly. And then you get to level 3 with Mazai. They certainly had the potential to be interesting, but their randomness makes it feel like they're a missed opportunity. Instead of being random, I think it would have been better to have them pre-chosen for each Elementalist, with their decks tailored to make use of Mazai on their stage. Instead, the effects tend to just get ignored by the already simplistic AI, and that is my other major complaint. The AI is as dumb as a box of rocks, which is certainly a problem for a single player only game. I'm not going to pretend that the Pokemon TCG had stellar AI, but in Final Stardust, I had a number of times where I threatened check, and despite plays that showed they were clearly capable of preventing mate, the computer just ignored that line of attack. But despite that, I did find it to be an enjoyable adventure with unique rules and a fair variety of cards in the game. In conclusion, I find Final Stardust Cosmic Nexus to be worthy of a solid 7.2 out of 10. Final Stardust Cosmic Nexus is currently available for PC via Steam. If you're interested in purchasing or ordering more, links are included in the description. But what about you? What do you think of Final Stardust? What card game inspired video games do you enjoy? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. And if you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.